The following may contain language that is not suitable for all audiences.
I guess it's time for the Low Fact Podcast, this time without the bells.
Huzzah!
All right. The hell happened there?
You messed it up.
Oh, well, me and technology. So, what is it? Oh, yeah. So, we were going to finally stop circling the drain on this whole idea of selling yourself.
I thought you would say finally start circling the drain on the podcast.
Oh, I don't think we'll do that. It's so much enjoyment for me. But no, we've kind of danced around the issue of selling yourself, both on the podcast and just kind of in our personal interactions.
Right.
I don't know if we mean the same thing.
Promoting yourself.
Yeah, what's that even supposed to mean to you?
Well, that means that sometimes, because, okay, so we've talked about this a little bit, like, can you see how many random noises you can make while I'm trying to speak?
Yes.
Dave's like, we're recording in a kitchen this evening, in an alternative location.
In our super secret Camp David-esque location.
Yeah, we're in the bunker. People are going to think that we're, I don't know.
Our version of NORAD.
So yeah, your whole thing is, and I'm just going to like paraphrase, but your whole thing is you shouldn't have to
No, it's not.
promote yourself because people are going to see that.
That's not what my whole thing is, but that's your understanding of it to continue.
Well, because we've had this, it's kind of a fight. Well, because I'm always like, you have to, people aren't necessarily going to see how good you are, so you have to tell them. I mean, you have to show them, tell them, do some self-promotion, right? Everybody self-promotes.
Yeah, I don't have an issue with that.
Really?
I just don't understand what you mean by it. If you go around telling everybody you're the shit, who's going to believe you? And this could be just my own personal outlook on things that's not shared with anybody else on Earth. So maybe that's why.
No, I think there are probably people that look at things that way.
But when people tell me about how smart they are, about how good they are, and all the stuff that they can do, most of the time I don't care. It doesn't affect me in any way. So I'm just sitting there going, right, you must be the poo.
Mm-hmm.
But if I'm asking if I need somebody to do something for me, I'm not going to go with a person like, oh yeah, I'm the greatest. I've done all this stuff. I know everything. I'd be like, yeah, you're full of shit. Next.
But like, let's say in a business context, right? You're trying to win a client.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. You only want the client where you don't have to like do any promotion or tell that client about yourself.
You're confusing things. So like, what do you mean?
Well, like, let's say a client's looking for a good attorney, right?
Yeah.
Well, you're obviously going to...
Yeah,
you're going to tell them what you can do.
I'm a good attorney, yeah, so...
Right? You're going to do some like, would you call that self-promotion or not?
No. Yes and no. I mean, that's just normal stuff. That's the normal course of interaction. You're trying to get someone to do something, to hire your service. Like, look.
So what's the issue? What's the difference between that and someone saying... So it's different from someone saying that I'm the shit?
Yeah. I'm the shit.
What if they are the shit, though? Then they don't need to say it?
I don't think so.
So you're not going to say, if you're, say, trying to get that matter or that client, you're not going to sit there and say, I'm the shit?
I don't think anyone's going to be... If someone's looking for someone...
Mm-hmm.
Are they going to go to, and this is like, I'll just drop a name that everybody knows, like F. Lee Bailey, maybe, or Alan Dershowitz.
Okay.
Are they going to go to him or call the Larry H. Parker Network?
Well, they're going to go to Dershowitz, obviously.
Dershowitz doesn't go around saying he's the shit. Larry H. Parker does.
Yeah.
So in that instance, to me, what that says is the only person that's going to go to someone who keeps on claiming how great they are is someone who doesn't know.
Yeah.
And there's way more, and and don't get me wrong, who makes more money, Alan Dershowitz or the Larry H. Parker Network? Hands down, Larry H. Parker.
Right.
They do different stuff, mind you.
Yeah.
But see, I think you and I, because you keep on telling me, it's like, oh, you need to promote yourself. If you don't promote yourself, I'm like, I promote myself plenty. We've been in meetings. I've talked about all the stuff that I've done and I can do.
Right, that's true. And nobody gave a shit.
Exactly.
Which is very strange.
Well, it's because the people that we were dealing with kind of go in a herd. They only do what other people have done.
Yeah.
Or go to the folks that other people have gone to.
But why is it that, because I feel like I've done the self-promotion thing in those contexts as well, but got a very different reaction, because I'm part of that herd?
I don't know. What do you mean? What do you mean you got a different reaction?
Well, they're just like, oh yeah, man,
Well, you're talking about a known thing.
I'm talking about, yeah.
You're talking about, I've worked on this set of movies, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
You're like, oh, yeah. And I'm saying stuff like, I worked on this, multi-billion-dollar merger.
Right.
Like, yeah, whatever.
Wow. That just says something about that audience, doesn't it?
Well, it was also like when we were talking about, I forget what like the generators.
Mm-hmm.
You were talking about how big film generators are. I was like, well, yeah, but they're generators that are used in other purposes that are much bigger. Like, and you're like, how big? I'm like, megawatt generators that are big as houses, duplexes.
Right. I was like, good Lord.
That you couldn't pull on one trailer.
Yeah. I've never seen a generator that big.
Well, the film generators look like little small horse
right.
carts.
Right. And to me, I'm like, that's a giant generator.
It's pretty big. But, that's like one of the first financing deals I've ever done or was a part of as an attorney.
Was it Jenny?
No, one of the first finance deals that I've ever done was like a couple $100 million.
Yeah.
And so, like, when you did all the work that you were supposed to do on that, people were sitting there going, fine, it's a couple $100 million. And then I went from a super large company to a smaller law firm that did smaller company work. And, when I was doing, it wasn't the hundreds and thousands of millions of dollars, but just in, the tens of millions of dollars, the work was the same.
Right.
But now the emphasis was on trying not to overload the lawyer bills.
Right.
Because orders of magnitude were lessened.
But it's the same shit.
Well, it's the same stuff that has to be done.
Yeah.
But
I never really did much of that.
But going back to the self-promotion thing, I don't think that I don't self-promote. Is there enough double negatives in that? I don't particularly think that I'm not someone who doesn't.
I don't know. I always feel like you're pretty shit at self-promotion.
For what reason?
Because you're just kind of like,
I can do it.
I don't need to sit there and, I can do it. I don't need to sit there and, prove myself to this person.
Well, I kind of do, but besides saying I can do it.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I'm like,
do I need to do it?
Excited up a little bit, put on some aftershave and,
Well, it's not like I walk in.
Pull out your,
You're making it sound like I walk in there with a bathrobe on.
Well, you have shown up to meetings in shorts.
Not business meetings.
Okay. Are you sure about that?
Yeah.
Okay. But you're not showing up in a three-piece suit.
Well, only because the people that we're meeting with would be kind of taken aback.
Yeah. Or two-piece. Was it a three-piece?
Well, a suit.
A suit. Yeah, I don't know. I've always just thought that you're shit at self-promotion.
Because I don't enthusiastically tell people about how great I am.
Yeah. Because we work in an industry where that's kind of what goes on a lot of the time.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I feel like there's a bit of an expectation.
Yeah, I can see
for that.
I can,
But
yeah, no, that's true. But having tried that route, it falls flat from me.
Yeah.
For whatever reason, I'm the type of guy that nobody wants to help.
So self-promotion, like,
people want stuff from me. Not many people want to do stuff for me.
Right. Which also is an interesting topic.
But there are people around that, get all kinds of hands up, legs up, whatever, all kinds of helping hands from all kinds of people, and I don't know what it is. I don't begrudge them that of it. But I very seldom. Now that's not to say that I've clawed my way to the middle here.
People aren't putting up their hand to help you though.
But I do get plenty of help. Don't get me wrong.
From where?
That I don't know. But there's I've had in my life, yes, I've had plenty of help and gotten breaks just like anybody else has. But I'm just saying, for the most part,
people always expect you to just be the one to figure shit out.
Yeah, they want me to do help. They believe, or a lot of times people treat me like the only reason that I was born was to make their life easier. And I don't mind that. I'm like,
really?
Yeah,
that would make me mad. I'd be mad.
Actually, I had one person come out right and say that. It's like the reason why you're here is to make my life easier. I was like, well, the reason you're here is to pay me.
Right.
So,
But that's an odd thing too, because I always feel like people have gone out of their way to help me.
There have been people that
I mean, you've seen that, right? You've seen the fact that I get help.
Yeah, I've gotten
from
help
people
too.
all the time, but
I've gotten help too. I've gotten help in a lot of situations when I really needed it, but most of the time people expect me to do stuff for them, and I have no problems with that. But I treat that as a very transactional thing, right? Unless you're a little baby who fell down and skinned their knee or lost their mom. That's a totally different situation.
But it's kind of an odd thing that someone would expect that.
In a professional situation, yes. But they do from me. But then they're not willing to it's almost like they expect you to help them, but then they're not going to give you any help. Or they're not going to or
it's not going to be the quid pro quo thing.
There's not going to be any bargain for exchange.
Right.
To which point, to use a crass example or metaphor, I don't think any of these people are going to go to a strip club and say, I want you to dance for me for free.
Yeah. I mean, it really defies comprehension.
It really does. And
so it's a question as to why would anyone ever think that? Like, as a grown adult, expecting somebody to sit there and do a whole lot of stuff for them and then be like, oh, I don't have to do anything in return.
Well, there's a lot of people that do that. You hear the funny stories about the social media influencer types that sit there and say, will send letters to places like, hey, if you give me a free room, I will promote you to my following.
Right.
And, sometimes I don't know if they're true stories, but supposedly sometimes those backfire where the business puts it up online on their website with a reply of, no, why don't you just pay?
Really?
Yeah.
I guess it depends how many followers they have.
Well, I don't think it depends at all.
Why?
Well, if you think about it, okay, let's say you got some person who's got hundreds of thousands or millions of whatevers, followers, fans, whatnot.
Yeah.
I don't know how many of those people are going to sit there and shell out, tens of thousands of dollars on whatever.
Well, yeah, these are mostly people that expect everything to be free. Free app, free access.
Now, if it were like a pair of Fruit of the Loom underwear, yeah, I'd do it because that'd probably happen. Or a bottle of tequila. But if it was a car,
yeah,
I'd sit there going, you know, like if it's a Rolls,
yeah,
I'd be sitting there thinking, how many of these? What's the demographic of the people that like this person, and how many of those people would buy Rolls?
Well, it's like inviting a bunch of moochers to a charity event.
Oh yeah, where food and drink are provided.
Yeah, and then expecting them to bid on things
Or pay for stuff, or yeah, exactly.
Right.
Yeah, we've been to many a charity event, or we've been to many an event with, I don't know, what would you call them, like Z-list folks?
moochers.
Yeah, the Z-list.
Yeah, the people who are like,
People who are
you guys don't have top shelf. I guess I could have like some wine or some beer then.
the people who are trying to break in.
Okay, well, if that's all you've got, I'll have some of your free wine then. Give me some of that, Red.
I always love the networking events with the people that really can't help anybody out. Mm-hmm. But everybody goes figuring that they can get someone to help them out.
Right. So it's just a bunch of people like, is there anybody here that can help me?
Dude, I never chowed down better than those events, man.
That's true. We went to those kinds of events for years.
For the express purpose of, you know...
Eating.
Yeah. Meeting the waitstaff, be like, hey, can you make sure that really nice fatty tuna comes over here first?
The film festival stuff's some of the worst, actually.
It's pretty funny, though. I mean...
But you always, like, get a good spot and then a bunch of people, like, start coming in.
Yeah.
For those of you who don't know, like, Dave has, like, this special skill of being able to find the best spot for, like... easy access to the waiting staff coming in and out, and then like comfort and just the best spot. He always picks the best spot, and then invariably people are like, oh, he's got a good spot, and then they just start coming in.
It's usually a pretty good time. I mean,
well, yeah, if it was me, I'd kind of be miffed at that point. I'd be like, stay away from my spot.
Well, we go to those things with different things in mind. I mean,
well, I'm always hoping to like that there'll be some good networking, but
yeah, if I were going to do that, I don't know what's the equivalent of the Belle Reve Country Club out here. We don't know what the Belle Reve Country Club is.
No,
it's a very expensive country club in Missouri.
Well, there's
kind of close to St. Louis.
There's Brentwood,
and I think membership's like I can't remember. This is going back a ways, but I think membership's way back about 20 or so years ago was like $50K.
Good Lord.
And so, like, you know, executives at Anheuser-Busch or Enterprise, you know, the big companies that were there. Actually, I don't know about Anheuser-Busch anymore. They used to be a good family company, but then they sold off to InBev, and then, you know, kind of went downhill from there. Mm-hmm. But, you know, yeah, if it was one of those places, my first job I got through promoting myself, working at an athletic club.
A very nice athletic club.
I wasn't even working very much. I was in charge of the squash courts.
You were in charge of playing squash, like making up squash teams?
Yeah, just people would call us like, hey, can you find me a game? Sure. And, you know, go down the list. Hey, you know, so-and-so wants a game. Can you play? No, yes, blah, blah, blah. And then, you know, you meet, I met a bunch of people there. For some reason, I didn't want to be a stockbroker, but those were always kind of those jobs. Now that I think about it, I probably would have done okay.
For a while. It's a young man's game, right? The stockbroking? Or is it not?
You need to be kind of well-connected.
Yeah.
But if you're not, then you got to make like hundreds of phone calls.
Yeah.
And the good thing about being a stockbroker is you're either really successful or you're doing something else. So
right.
You find out pretty quickly if you're going to be...
I've always thought that was the unfair part about being an attorney.
What?
The fact that you can't just sit there and go through a list and call people.
Yeah, you can't cold call them, but
no. If
you grew up someplace,
yeah,
and you happen to go back, which is I didn't go back to where I grew up. I probably would have. It might have helped.
Hell, man! If I went back to New Zealand now, it's like I think I'm about 15 years too late.
Yeah, we are kind of late. We are at the point where we're supposed to be bringing in the money.
There's some money, but Sure would like there to be more.
But so
start listening. So start telling people about the damn podcast. Just kidding.
No, you're not. So just kidding. Not really. But yeah, the whole self-promotion thing. I don't know what you mean. I guess.
I don't think I know what I mean. Let me try that again. I don't know that I have an answer, because I've always thought, well, you need to do a better job of self-promotion, but I've never really like boiled it down to this is what you need to do.
I mean, if it's supposed to be, I'm always sitting there talking about all the great stuff I've done and all that, you know.
I don't think. I feel like you're not very good at selling yourself, and by virtue of not selling yourself, you're selling yourself short, because I know how I've seen you operate. I know how well you operate. I know how good you are, but I think a lot of people miss that.
If I'm doing stuff for them, I don't see how they would, but yes, I can see where if I'm doing stuff for them, they might, because there are people that come to that have issues, and the only answer to their to their problem is, if you don't have enough money, well, they don't have enough money. So Then the answer is, how can you fix this? Like, well, we have to go back in time.
Yeah, because that's always like, if clients love that.
Well,
potential clients.
The real answer is you need a couple of orders of magnitude more money than you want to spend
to fix this.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, sometimes you just can't fix something.
No, you can always fix something. It's just
really.
Yeah. Well, let me explain that. You can always fix something in the work that we do. We're not criminal attorneys.
Oh, right. Yeah. You need to go back in time 3 weeks and not murder this person.
Or you need to go back 3 weeks and not try to smuggle 10,000 pounds of fentanyl into the country.
Yeah.
No, but for a lot of the stuff that we do,
that's true.
It's really a matter of
sometimes it's just and fixing shit, which can be expensive.
And the people that rightly or wrongly that I like to help are people that just don't have. They're underrepresented. They're underserved.
Yeah.
Mostly from their own viewpoint on life. But
what does that mean?
People that think that they can do the stuff on their own.
Oh, yeah.
On the cheap.
Right.
Which is why my favorite legal...
Which kind of works until the fucking rubber meets the road, right? Until there's something's real, and then you're in trouble.
Yeah, but that's like me trying to be my own physician. I'm a very well-educated person, but I'm not educated in that branch of stuff, so... Even the stuff that I can find via the internet, or I can read any kind of like medical journal till the cows come home. I'm not going to get it just like someone can read a legal opinion. A doctor reading a legal opinion, they might get it.
Maybe.
A doctor that went to law school reading a legal opinion, they might get it. But if that doctor's never practiced law, they ain't going to get it.
Yeah.
Right? There's an old saying that I love to hear, that I love to say, because I heard it a long time ago. I was like, oh, that's really good. It's like, oh yeah, okay, so you learned that shit in school? Great, this is the fleet.
Yeah.
Like, oh. And people don't seem to get that. I mean, everyone thinks that law is easy because everyone can read. But every little industry has its own little code and vernacular and the way things are done. So going back, yeah, I personally, because I mean, you don't necessarily go to law school because you're just this heartless whore looking for money.
I went to law school because I didn't know what else to do.
Okay, that's a lot of people, but even among the people like that, there's like a little spark of idealism that is there, and sometimes it's put out, and you turn into a heartless whore that's only in it for money.
Actually, I think my quote was much law but little justice, so I guess there's a little bit of...
Yeah, well, everyone, that's the funny thing. Everyone that goes to those professional programs, whether it be medicine, okay, so people that want to be doctors, they want to help people. Yeah, sure, but they also want to be very rich while they help people.
I think I've become more cynical.
Well, that happens
over time.
Well, yeah, that happens in life, but...
I don't know if that's good, though.
I don't know that you can really put a label on that. It is what it is.
Yeah.
But going back to the thing, you and I like to help folks that really need help more than people that have loads of cash or loads of contacts and connections.
Right.
But those people tend to
be very frustrating clients. No, I'm just kidding.
No, that's actually
no. They can be.
They are.
Yeah.
They are. And
mostly it's just because they don't know.
Well, yeah. And you want to try to educate them while not,
charging them an arm and a leg.
But they tend to kind of look at stuff like, well, it's the I hate the wimpy effect.
Wimpy?
Or the wimpy theory. I'm glad they pay you on Thursday for a hamburger today.
Oh, right, yeah. That's from Popeye, right?
Yeah. I mean, we used to get a lot of that. So, wrapping up, after we've gone on this very weird tangent, going on the self-promotion thing, I don't understand what you mean. And when people point to people that are very highly self-promoting,
yeah,
I sit there and go, why the hell would anybody believe that person?
But the weird thing is that some of the people that are the most successful, like super successful, they still self-promote. Like the Tony Robbins or the Rock or someone like that. They've gotten there, but they're fucking doing self-promotion all the time.
They're, again, don't dispute that, but I'm not sure what you mean by that. So Tony Robbins is always out, buy this, buy this, buy this.
Yeah, he's selling himself and he's selling his message. And he's part, like Tony Robbins, that's his thing. Like he's giving advice, but Tony Robbins is what you get. Like it's the packet. Like when people pay, they're paying to see Tony Robbins and the advice that he's giving. But he's excessively good at promoting himself.
Yeah, I don't disagree, but I would never pay for what they're selling.
Well, I don't know. I would, I think. I mean, I like a lot of the stuff that Tony Robbins says.
Yeah, I mean, not so much. But I'm not saying that Tony Robbins is bad or wrong or incorrect for what he does, but that's what he's selling.
Right.
We're not selling that, to use the Tony Robbins thing.
Well, you're still selling yourself, though, ultimately.
I'm selling my skills, yeah.
Right.
But truth be told...
Well, you suck at it. Just kidding. I was just thinking of...
Truth be told, there's almost no difference between any legal professional. Just like there's really no difference between any medical professional.
For some reason, I was just thinking that last line in Erin Brockovich, she's like, do they teach beauty queens how to apologize where you come from? Because you suck at it. But, yeah, I don't know.
I mean, for the most part, a good lawyer or a good doctor is someone who you get along with.
Yeah.
The medical knowledge, that doesn't change. The examples you're using, Tony Robbins and The Rock, what they're selling is something different. You're buying Tony Robbins, the Tony Robbins experience. You're not buying...
Or The Rock experience.
You're not buying a roadmap to... You follow these steps, this is how you're going to have this amount of money. You follow these steps, you're going to have whatever it is.
Well, Tony Robbins is selling that, though. He's saying, do these things and, you'll be successful. Yeah. He's absolutely saying that.
Yeah, but it's not mathematics. That doesn't happen for everybody that's paid the money and done it.
Mm.
Does it?
No.
See?
No, it doesn't.
But if you believe
it can't.
If you believe it will... I'm surprised some stupid lawyer hasn't gotten somebody else to sit there and say that he's making false advertising or false claims. Oh, Well, does he? He has little disclaimers at the bottom, right?
Oh, I don't know.
May not always work.
I don't follow everything that Tony Robbins says and does.
Well, not that you should, but yeah, those.
I would imagine a lot of it is just about self-help to success, right?
Okay, and
there's a ton of that, right?
Yeah.
Like it's the same thing. Like it's the same with a lot of the Christian pastors and things. It's the same deal. You know, do these things, and then it's the what do they call it?
I don't know, but.
It's the pathway to success. It's the pathway to whatever.
I mean, I have a hard time with that because it don't work for everybody.
But okay, we kind of went down the rabbit hole of the law.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like just taking a step back from the law for a second. But yeah, like I was going to say, so like you could totally be a Tony Robbins, but for the fact that you are not willing to engage in any kind of self-promotion. So
I think you're conflating a couple of things there.
Okay. How so?
Well, you're saying I could totally be a Tony Robbins, but I'm not into self-promotion.
You're not into like selling something to somebody. And you could. I mean, and you could it doesn't have to be like a house of cards. It doesn't have to be selling something that's not real. I mean, you could give some very solid advice to people about what they need to do for their career, or, like there's a lot of things beyond law you could be doing.
I think I do that anyway. Could I get paid for that? I don't know.
Why not?
That's an actual question. Do I have the skills to be able to make a living giving people advice? I don't know.
Yes.
Could I give advice to people? Definitely, sure.
Business advice, whatever.
But you got to ask me. And if you ask,
but people have to know, they have to know about you for a start to be able to ask you.
If that's going to be a business model, then
yes. They have to know who you are and what you're about, and just kind of like sitting there and saying, well, they're going to see it. Like, how are they going to see it if they don't even know about you?
Again, I think you're making a whole lot of assumptions here, though.
Okay.
If I'm going to be starting to tell people like I have the secret to a happier life,
right,
or a more successful life, the first thing people are going to look at is my life. And while I make fun of my life, I got it pretty easy. Well, I got it pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
But they're going to be sitting there going, well, he doesn't have a yacht and like a super hot model wife and like a giant house.
But that's not what it's about, though.
For a lot of people, it is.
But it's all fake.
Yeah, but people are into the fake. Why are so many people into religion? If people said like you should join this religion because it's going to teach you suffering and pain and how to deal with that pain, and then when you die, you're going to get to the promised land.
Yeah.
You want to go for that religion? Or are you going to go for the religion like you join this religion, you're going to have fucking gold-plated burritos on gold-plated plates. You're going to have all the cars you want. Life's going to be great. Everyone's going to love you. You're just going to just rock.
Yeah.
I'm not into false advertising. And if false advertising or like
that's not what I'm saying though.
What? Again, don't cut me off before right? But if it's like being recruited for a job. You've been through there, right?
Mm-hmm.
Talk to all the employees, and like, oh yeah, it's a great place to work. You're gonna really like it.
Sometimes they say this place sucks.
When you're being recruited?
Yeah.
Okay, then that place must really suck because that's never happened.
You've never had anybody say that to you?
Not while I was being courted.
Wow.
After I accepted, yeah.
Yeah.
After I accepted, people were like, God, this is the worst.
No, I had a studio situation where a couple of I guess they just sent me out to talk to people, and a couple of people were like, oh, this place sucks. I was like, damn. Anyway.
Yeah, no, I've never.
Maybe that person got fired.
I don't think they care.
Yeah.
Because I think I remember what the place you were talking about, and that place always had a long list of people who wanted to come in.
Mm-hmm.
So it doesn't matter how much it sucks.
Yeah. So you said I'm conflating two things. Like I'm conflating some things. So what am I conflating?
I think you take issue with how I promote myself.
Which is you don't promote yourself.
Really? So when somebody says, have you done this? Can you do that? I'm like, no, I'm shit at it.
No. Well, sometimes but sometimes you'll like kind of joke about stuff. Like it'll just be like conversational.
Oh, like when we're just talking with people and...
Yeah, just kind of shooting the shit and just kind of like, you'll play it down or play yourself down.
Because I've been in those conversations before, and the second someone thinks I know something, what happens is 20 questions. That turns into 20 more questions. That turns into 20 more questions. And then they're like, thanks for all your help.
I'm not, yeah. Okay. Yeah.
I mean, as stupid
well, maybe you should be like, maybe we should like be having these conversations.
As stupid as I might look or act around people,
I feel stupid if that's what's going on, because like I'm like, oh, that's what's been going on all these years.
Well,
like were you going to include me in on this at some point? Or?
In some instances, in some instances, we've had conversations with folks, and you wanted me to promote. You wanted me to be enthusiastically like, oh yeah, I can do all this stuff.
Right. And I was like, what the fuck was that?
That was, I didn't want to spend 30 minutes trying to impress someone with what I know. And...
Because you'd already decided that it was a waste of time?
Well, I'm not that bad at reading people.
No, you're very good at reading people.
Contrary to popular belief. I don't just like some people have a very good sense of where to sniff to get help, I've got a very good sense of who's sniffing me.
Yeah.
And wants to get like a noseful for free.
Well, you've also got a very good sense of who's the real deal and who isn't, which is kind of funny. Well,
Right, yeah.
Like who's like a real prospect versus who's like, somebody that's going to be basically a waste of our time.
Oh, and don't get me wrong. I mean, I've made missteps, and there have been times when I've been a little desperate and thinking that this would be a good thing, and I do the song and dance, and then they don't want me, and it turns out I'm glad that they don't, because,
Yeah.
Who wants to be a porn lawyer?
Yeah.
But this... Yeah.
But it is a weird thing, because I don't know quite what I'm suggesting that you should be doing. That's any I don't know that I have the answer. Well, it's just something.
Sure, and that's fine. I just
don't. It's like, there has to be a better way.
I just don't know what a lot of people mean when they say you need to promote yourself, and I'm sitting there going, how? Because I know some people are like, you need to dress better. You need to dress for success.
Mm-hmm.
Not to me, but there are people that say, you want to go out and impress people, you need to dress for success.
Right.
And to me, that's good advice for someone who's a teenager who, wants to have full face tattoos, dreadlocks, whatever, and also wants to be a judge.
Right.
And might be unfair, but you don't just magically pop into being a judge. You have to spend time being a lawyer, whatever. You have to spend time in a certain circle. And if you have a full face tattoo and full sleeve tattoos, you're probably not... You're going to throw some people off.
You're probably not going to make it.
You know, or you know, if you want to be a fitness guru,
yeah,
can't really do it if you don't look fit.
Yeah, probably not.
I don't know where I'm going with that, but you know, when people say, "Oh, you need to know how to promote yourself," I'm just, because sometimes when I hear that, and sometimes what people are saying is just, you need to constantly tell people how great you are.
Yeah.
There's some people that actually mean that when they're saying you need to promote yourself, and I'm sitting there going, who the hell is going to believe anyone that sits there and talks about how great they are?
All the time.
You know, like sometimes you see interviews, you know, man on the street or woman on the street interviews, and there's invariably some person talking about. I remember seeing something about talking about some college student, co-ed. She was talking about how smart she was, and you know how great all of her friends are, and how pretty they were, and just on and on. And you know, you would think that that's kind of constant self-promotion, right? I thought it was false advertising because just by hearing her speak, I didn't think she was smart at all. And her friends, you know, beauty eye in the beholder. This beholder didn't think they were all that cute. So, you know, this whole idea about marketing, and if you just keep on telling people, because like the one thing that I really hate is like if you tell people something over and over again, they're going to start to believe it. Why?
Not if it's bullshit.
Well, if it's bullshit, you're still going to have the sycophants that are going to sit there and say yes to
whatever.
To get under the big top,
right?
To start to make life easier. And so I'm sitting there going, okay, so is the person that sits there and just kind of agrees to get theirs, are you counting them as someone believing that? You know, I'm not. It's more of a rhetorical question than anything. But this whole idea of promoting yourself, I don't know that there is. And it's a weird thing about language, because a lot of times people say things, both sides think they're saying they're saying the same things, but they're not, even though they might be using the same language.
Yeah.
And in that sense, I believe in precision in language, and things have to have certain meanings that everybody agrees on.
Oh, and you think self-promotion is not clear?
It's one of those things that seem clear but isn't. And most of the time, when I really don't care to have a lingering conversation with someone,
yeah,
and I'm pretty sure a lot of people do that too. They're like, or whatever.
Yeah.
But, and even when I want more precision, then people get mad at it sometimes. I remember talking with someone years ago, and they talked about how they liked that one movie, Blow, with Johnny Depp or whatever. And I was just making conversation. I was like, oh, what'd you like about it? And this person got really pissed off at me.
What do you mean, what I like about it?
You know, I was like, I don't think about it. Blah, 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 blah. And I came to realize that this person thought that I looked down on them, which I didn't.
For asking about the movie?
Well, I think people, well, I guess I'm talking about me in particular here, but sometimes people kind of think that I look down on them, or for whatever reason.
That's weird too. So, but coming back to self-promotion, see, one of the things that I see now in this like age of social media is there's an inordinate amount of self-promotion going on in order to get views, get likes, get get traction.
Which is all about getting what?
Money.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of like, well, that ship has sailed, right? Like, it's almost like that's the reality that we live in now.
I think it's sad that our culture has taken a turn to where that is what people want to do.
Right. But maybe there's like too much. Maybe people are kind of turning it off now.
Well,
maybe people are like, you know what, I've had enough. I want something real.
In any group, there's only room for a certain number of ne'er-do-wells.
Yeah.
Sorry. You know, just like many people think that there, in any group, there's only a certain percentage available to be uber rich, or uber to be at the top.
Right.
Yes and no, but we won't even go on down the esoteric rabbit hole of like, well, do you actually, is society worth being in, right? But there is a desire in pretty much any society to be one of the people either pulling the strings, kind of living the high life, whatever.
So do you look down on people when it's clear there's like shameless self-promotion going on?
I'm pretty sure I look down on people because I'm human.
Yeah.
But if I think about it, when they sit there and shamelessly promote themselves, I tend to just kind of ignore it or not be around.
Yeah.
Most of the time, I have no thoughts about others, which probably is very... People would say, oh, that's very wrong and antisocial and you can't be like that. But most of the time, I couldn't care less about other people and what they think and what they do.
Oh, yeah.
Except in the situations where it affects me directly. And when it does, then I get a little pissed off about stuff. And then people are like, well, why do you really care? It's not really affecting you. But it is.
Yeah. Well, there's also, I mean, that's a whole other conversation, but there's all sorts of things that are affecting everybody that everybody's just kind of ignoring right now.
If you live in a society, everything that you do is going to have an effect on someone else. Now, whether that effect is beneficial or negative is a whole nother story. But there's too many people sitting there thinking that what they do shouldn't bother anybody else, no matter what.
Yeah.
And...
that shit just drives me up the wall.
It's a little confusing.
Yeah, the idea that it's like, oh, I'm gonna be totally picky about everything you say and do, but you should be okay with just whatever takes my fancy.
Yeah, and that's a lot of people. And again, that takes me back to the whole evolutionary. A lot of the stuff that we do and we think, I believe, goes totally against evolutionary theory, right? So if the whole idea is best and the brightest survive, the best, the most adaptive, the most whatever survive. So I'm sitting there going, why is it so good that people think that they're better than everybody else, regardless of whether they're not? How is that? How is that something that...
Well, it may have been like that at the point where you could, if you fucked up, you were going to get, like, eaten by the saber-toothed tiger or killed by the mammoth. But I don't think that's not where we're at today.
If that is indeed a genetic trait that was passed on, then those dumbasses happened to breed before they got taken out.
Oh, shit. Because I see people all the time where I'm like, I can't believe that you bred and that you have these offspring.
Well,
I'm just like, and now these offspring are going to have offspring. I'm like, and I'm going to end up with like Idiocracy. Right?
If you really think about it,
you saw Idiocracy, right?
Yes, yeah. Yes. If you really think about it, we probably should have or should be having kids when we're about early teens, and then most likely be dead before you're 40.
That's how, yeah, I mean, this is going back a ways, right?
Right. But the whole Idiocracy thing, have we talked about my theory about having kids and why poor cultures have more kids than richer ones?
Because if some are going to die.
Well, that too, but the reason why people that are less well off have more kids is because in that situation, your kids are an asset.
Okay.
The more kids you have, the more hands you have that can go work the land, go hunting, go gathering, go begging, whatever it is.
No, right? I don't think we've talked about this on the podcast.
Okay, so like if you're not making that much money and you're in a place that isn't making that much money, the more kids you have, the better.
But then you got to feed them all.
Well, yeah, but the more kids you have, the more hands there are to get food.
Right.
But if you're wealthier, every kid, instead of becoming an asset, is more likely to be a liability.
Huh.
because of all the money you have to pour in, all the resources you have to pour into that kid because you want to keep your standard of living.
Wow. Was this your theory?
Yes. Well, it's my theory that I haven't read it anywhere.
It's an interesting theory. What would you call that theory?
Confusing.
That's weird. It kind of makes sense, though.
You know, like the difference between having working pets and pets.
Yeah.
That's where I got it from. Like, if you're on a farm, you have dogs, or if you're a herder,
yeah,
you have dogs. What do those dogs do? They work.
Dude, that's another thing that fucking drives me crazy about Instagram. Okay, because I follow a couple of
dogs.
I follow guys that train dogs.
Okay.
Like I follow a guy that like trains collies and stuff. He's he's like a farming guy, and there's always some fucking idiot, right? It's usually a woman weighing in and saying, oh, how do you know the dog wants to work and da-da-da. And so I watched this thing on Instagram this week, and he had his collie in his house, and he's like, okay, he's right. He's like, dog, he's like, you're going to stay home today. You don't have to come to work. And the dog's like, can I go? And then he's like, no, you're not coming. We're not going to work. And the dog's sitting there, and he's like, you want to go to work? And the dog's like, just straight out the door to the sheep, But
and I think
this is where we're at.
Well,
this is where we're at. Like people are sitting there saying, oh, we shouldn't be having working animals, I'm like, really?
Well, that's where the whole idea of having a purpose in life comes in.
So what's the collie's... You know what happens when a collie doesn't have sheep to herd?
He starts herding furniture?
Yeah. Collies that don't have, like, wide spaces and things to herd, they go nutty. They literally go nutty.
And I believe that people take a parallel from animals and put that onto people. Saying, when you're idle, then, having a purpose, the most important thing in life. And for a lot of people, the only way to have purpose is to have a job and blah, blah, this and blah, blah, that.
But you can not have a job and have purpose.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
I would be totally fine with being the Hugh Grant character in About a Boy.
Brilliant.
I would have...
You put, like, a haircut on your schedule?
I would have...
Like, oh, sorry, Tuesday, 10 o'clock,
have so much purpose... Totally fine. But some people can't deal with that. And
I couldn't. Like I couldn't I couldn't be that character.
But then there's the next step on that, and that's what bothers me, is the people that sit there and say, well, it is incumbent upon me to help those people and to look out for them. I'm like, what makes you better? Going back to my whole, what is the point of the evolutionary thing that made it to where that you must think that you're better than someone else, and that was a trait that had to survive, that was key into helpful into survival.
See, I think, like, I know we're low fact, but I think you might have to research this a little bit.
I'm not going to do it for free. So if you want to know, you got to figure out a way to start paying us, and I will find that answer out.
Yeah, and I think we're well done at this point.
Like steak?
Yep.
Stick a fork in you?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Stick a fork in us, we're done.
So, cool. Like, subscribe, do all that great stuff. Keep listening, keep whatever. Keep on keeping on, because, we're really only doing this for views.
We're doing this because it's fun to sit around and talk about bullshit.
Yeah. We sure is only doing it for the likes. Because, we're not getting enough of them. Start using your fingers there, yo lazy bums.
Yeah, come on. Get with the program.